MMA is one brutal sport. You enter a cage with no way out and you get ready to go because for the next few minutes, it's a no-holds-bar war. It's a battle with a fellow warrior, just as strong, fast, skilled, and hungry as you. With everything except scratching, clawing, and low blows allowed, the most dominant fighters are all absolutely ready to end their opponents with a knockout. Unlike boxing, you don't get a 10-second timer to save you from the brutality here. Here are our picks for the craziest, most brutal, and absolutely legendary MMA knockouts in the history of mixed martial arts. Abelardo vs. Urrutia. Starting off the video strong, we gotta start with this absolute bomb from One Championship Fighting. In this bantamweight bout, Filipino fighter Mark Abelardo went up against the US fighter Emilio Urrutia. Urrutia held the advantage as the taller fighter. His strategy was always to stand on the outside and hit from there, while Abelardo, with his shorter stature, had to charge in if he wanted to get hits off on Urrutia. It was clear from the start that Abelardo's sheer aggressiveness is not something Urrutia was ready for. Abelardo may have been aggressive, but he was still fighting smart, dodging most of Urrutia's own jabs from outside. This bout was a battle full of exchanges and hits, with both fighters getting into combos and flurries. The tide of the battle really started to shift in favor of Abelardo once he started hitting that overhand elbow consistently. Whenever a clinch came, Abelardo came in with an unstoppable elbow that left Urrutia wrecked. Finally, as the second round was ending, Abelardo delivers the dagger as he fully sends an elbow from hell straight into Urrutia, ducking in and countering Urrutia's own punch. Man was out cold, and the ref had to rush in to save Urrutia from any more damage. Abelardo showed that he had heart and that small advantages like height and reach don't matter at the end of the day. Belfort vs. Rockhold. In this middleweight clash from May 19, 2013, we saw Vitor Belfort going up against Luke Rockhold. This was actually a special fight for Luke Rockhold, as this bout with the UFC legend Belfort was also his UFC debut. Luke Rockhold was no slouch, as before joining the UFC, he was the middleweight champ at Strikeforce. Vitor Belfort wasn't exactly out here giving Rockhold a happy welcome. In this main event fight, Belfort absolutely dominated Rockhold with a flurry of hard punches and kicks all over. Rockhold tried to be aggressive himself, but Belfort was just shrugging off hits. Belfort then ends the fight early in the first round, scoring a gorgeous spinning heel back kick perfectly into Rockhold's face. A quick ground and pound by Belfort later, and just like that, Luke Rockhold had his welcome to the MMA moment served up perfectly by Belfort. This may have been a bad first impression for UFC fans to Rockhold's game, but the guy still eventually became a middleweight champion, so he still deserves respect. Casimir vs. Lamas. In this battle from the now-defunct World Extreme Cage Fighting, we saw this lightweight bout between Ricardo Lamas and Bendy Casimir. Coming into it, this battle was one that was a battle of fighting styles, as Bendy was a submission specialist who likes to grapple on the ground, while Lamas had boxing skills and preferred striking hard. Casimir actually towered over Lamas, as Casimir was a 5'8" fighter, while Lamas was just 5'5", but the height didn't mean reach, as astonishingly, Bendy had longer reach than Lamas with a 70-inch reach compared to Ricardo Lamas' 69-inch reach. Off the bat, it was clear that Bendy was struggling, as he just could not get a takedown on Ricardo Lamas. Lamas was throwing flurries all over and was even throwing some good kicks that were landing. As the first round was ending, Bendy tried dodging a punch that he thought was going high by going low, but the right straight he was expecting was actually a power lefty from Lamas that hit him straight in the head. You knew it was over as soon as you saw his mouthpiece go flying off, as he was also out cold after that monster hit. No follow-up strikes were needed. Lamas showed that sometimes all you need to end a fight is to get your opponent kneed in the face. Barboza vs. Etime. On January 15, 2012, lightweight Edson Barboza faced off against Terry Etime at UFC 142. Barboza went into this fight a clear undefeated force here in the lightweight division. Etime got dominated as Barboza kept dishing out the hard hits. As they reached the third, the iffy fight suddenly took a turn, as Barboza took the clear lead and dominated the third. Barboza was simply beating the British fighter with a flurry of his hits from all over. In the third, Barboza tries it and decides to try to finish the fight. He throws an insane spinning kick that hits Etime straight in the face. No ground and pound was needed once again because everyone there went off seeing the hit unfold. This fight was one for this history book, as this also marked the first ever knockout by spinning kick in UFC history. Seeing as that kick was just that tough and perfect, I don't think another spinning kick is taking its place at the top anytime soon. Quentin Rampage Jackson versus Ricardo the Brazilian Tiger Arona. For this bout, we saw an absolute classic fight at Pride Critical Countdown 2004. Anyone who knows and remembers Pride knows these fights were absolutely no joke. Pride Championships were just waves and waves of the best no-holds-barred fighting. Rampage Jackson faced off against Brazilian fighter Ricardo Arona. Again, it was a battle of styles, as Rampage Jackson was known for his insane strike power and speed, while Arona had to take the fight into the grappling battle. The 10-minute first round was an absolute show. Rampage was throwing hits, while Arona was attempting his own bunch of grapples. What might have surprised people is that Rampage decided to fight on the ground too. Rampage was hammering down hits from the ground, but it got rough when Arona attacked him with a triangle choke. Rampage was getting dragged down, and from the ground, Arona was triangle choking him hard. Rampage, however, ends up doing an insane move. Rampage, while defending from the triangle choke, ends up slamming him down into the ground and knocks Arona out cold. This was just insane all around and catapulted Rampage straight into #1 title contender for the middleweight championship of Pride. That knockout was a result of Rampage showing that he can do some real damage when he wants to. Jorge Masvidal versus Ben Askren. And for our next pick, the fastest knockout in MMA history deserves a spot, especially considering all it took to set this fight up. In what was only Ben Askren's second fight in the UFC, having fought in a bunch of other promotions for the majority of his career, Masvidal, a grizzled vet of the UFC who was the complete opposite of Askren, was here to give Ben a rude awakening. While Ben Askren was winning gold medals for wrestling, Askren was getting his reps in fighting in nightclubs of all places. Ben had come into the UFC talking a lot of smack, and he and Masvidal were into some real beef before the fight even started. Askren had one win in the UFC at that point, but a lot of fans had issues with it as it was a wrong call by the ref, accidentally calling a tap on Ben Askren's submission on Robbie Lawler. In what people were expecting to be a long battle full of blows for Masvidal and grappling and wrestling for Ben Askren, Masvidal makes history. Bell sounds, and with a running start and fully ready to end it, Masvidal absolutely nails Ben Askren with a flying knee to the face, immediately knocking him out. And in just 5 seconds from the bell ringing, Masvidal wins the fight with one absolutely perfect flying knee. This KO will forever be an iconic finish that is a reminder to any fighter that they don't play around in the UFC. Everyone here in the UFC is a different level of fighter and killer in the octagon. Any dominant and insane knockout that we forget to mention here? Comment down in the comments section below your favorite knockout, and while you're at it, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification for the newest videos and the best sports news and content.